Hey, welcome back to Ask the Pastors. We're excited to wrestle with another topic. Thank you so much for asking questions and giving us an opportunity to speak into these a little bit.
No experts here.
Not at all.
Just pastors.
Yeah. So today's question is, how do we disagree agreeably? Or there's kind of a two-part question to this, is how do we use social media well? How do we edify? How do we encourage others instead of argue and disagree on social media?
That question, they were concerned that social media seems to exacerbate this like opinion sharing. Like
Right.
It just gets ramped up.
Yep, you might make a comment and all of a sudden you're in a disagreement and arguing. It gets volatile a little bit, and we know that's not helpful. But we're not sure how to do it well sometimes.
I'm not sure if I do sometimes. On a personal, I probably have, as I've gotten older, just avoided disagreeing on that platform a lot. Still do at times. One of the things that has helped me is I probably would tend to only disagree, maybe back and forth, have a conversation if I know them pretty well.
Right.
You can throw some real bombs
Yep.
without any type of accountability, and then you can just sign off, and that's not only helpful, it's just not polite. It's you would never do that in person, get up and walk away.
Yeah. So social media is supposed to be this friendship, this social thing, but it's public. So sometimes you think I'm interacting in a safe space with my friends, but then it is public to the world, and so you get other comments, and many times it has deviated from what its original purpose was. I'm 38 years old, and so I kind of grew up with social media. I'm by no means an expert at it. I don't use it a whole lot, but it's been interesting to me how the purpose of social media has changed. I was just kind of doing a little reminder of it, and there's a movie that kind of tells about the history of Facebook, and Facebook started out as an opportunity for guys to meet girls and to find out a little bit about them, but now all of a sudden it's become this social argument platform where I'm going to state a strong statement and people are going to reply back. It's interesting how those have changed. Twitter started out as a place for celebrities and influential people to give you comments on society and update you just on interesting topics or even their lives. And now all of a sudden it's become just a place where anybody can put strong opinions and almost feel like there's no accountability for it.
Yeah, you can just say it and then kind of digitally walk away.
Yeah, and so social media has become something different than I think it was originally intended for, and I think that's created some problems.
And that's really insightful, because you add to that the fact that it's not only become a place, like you said, for people to express opinions. It's become an approval gathering mechanism that's very unhealthy. Without a strong identity, you get involved in those, and you're going to find yourself reaching for lots of likes, thumbs ups. And so to answer the question, one of the things I would say, and I think we've chatted before about this just in general, two words that you really ought to try to have your hands around would be security and humility.
That's right.
And so what I mean by that, and Travis, lean in here a bit, to whoever asked the question, if you don't have some sense of your identity kind of stabilized, can we call it that? I would be really leery of just sharing opinions on social media, especially with folks disagree, because man, you're going to find yourself not really able to handle what comes back.
That's right.
So, I mean, we all have some insecurities. No one's got this down perfectly, but I would say you have to have some level of pretty good security in Christ, standing on the gospel, that you're not looking for approval. If you're not there, man, I would refrain from engaging very many people at all, unless you really know them. If you have some pretty good levels of security, then I think you mentioned this earlier when we were talking offline, is humility really matters, doesn't it?
Yep.
You want to kind of break that out a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing we just have to remember is that social media is using your words, and the Bible talks a lot about how the wise know how to control their tongue. So I'm not sure the authors of Proverbs had social media in mind when it was written, but Proverbs talks a lot about how Christians, the wise, those who desire to be wise, would control their tongue or control their words. So I was just reminded of Proverbs 15 this week, and he talks so much about being slow to speak and being careful to use your words and taking your time before you speak and even holding your tongue. And I think a lot of that applies to principles on how to use social media. Don't just flap your gums on social media. Use your words wise. That's where you talk about security and humility. If you take those two lenses before you ever post anything, am I secure in what I'm saying? And is this comment humble? Am I doing it out of the right purpose, out of the right love for people? Is that why I'm posting this? I think that would help us make better decisions when it comes to social media.
And you make a good point that in Proverbs, I think one of the things that is very evident is words are one of the ways we detect humility in people.
Yep.
So don't undervalue your words and your choice of words.
Yep.
Learn to ask questions. I think on social media, if we can ask questions as opposed to always stating opinions, if you're choosing to use that format, that does help the conversation move along. But even in those questions, we can sometimes ask them in a baiting way. That's not helpful.
No, not at all.
So this is a massive topic, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yet I think it's one that the church is finding to be difficult to navigate because there are too many people who are garnering their self-esteem, we'll call it, or their security from what people say about them on social media. And so I would just encourage folks, use it sparingly if you're really not got your security locked down in Christ and the gospel. Because it'll mess you up, to be frank with you.
And cause division.
It will.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for joining us for another round of Ask the Pastors.